Hi there, I'm Mike Hall. Welcome to our Big Ten Network studios, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. This is Big Ten Today. Got a fun half hour in store for you. We're going to have a chat with a reigning national champion in the college world. But we start off with football, as that is once again our big story as our camp previews continue. Right now, we're going to focus on Rutgers. Only 5 wins last year on the gridiron, but reason for optimism because their offense was so good last year. It was their highest scoring team in 2 decades. Rusher Antoine Raymond had 73% of the team's rushing yards. He's back. While KJ Duff had more than a third of the team's receiving yards last season. He also is back. So the offense could be quite good this fall. For more on that and the team as a whole, we head out east to get a full report from our entire crew at Rutgers.
Mike, thanks. Here with Howard Griffith and Jake Button. Interesting that Mike was talking about KJ Duff and Antoine Raymond because both of those guys were exceptional. I think we have to start with KJ Duff. He's just on a different level.
He really is. You think about it, you can throw the football anywhere in his vicinity. He's going to come down with it. And what I saw from him today is just his top-end speed. He was running away from people today after one of the big catches he made across the middle. So he's a guy that is absolutely a difference maker, and they're going to have to find ways of getting him the football.
That top-end speed is something we didn't see last year. We saw flashes of greatness last year, certainly, and it's good to see him back here. But he seems to have taken that next step as a player. He's just got a gravity and presence on the field. I mean, your attention is drawn to him. I mean, of all the places we've been, offense, defense, he's one of the best players that stands out at anywhere. I mean, he is a first-round talent. He's going to make an NFL franchise extremely happy. And he was out there. He didn't have gloves on today, and he was plucking balls out of the air like he had stickum on his fingers. So really just can't wait to see what he does this fall.
It's everything. It's the speed that you guys talked about. It's the contested catches. It's everything you could
blocking
want.
Too.
Yeah,
he was digging out.
Well.
Yeah.
Everything you could want from a wide receiver. And it's a good duo then with Antoine Raymond at running back because you can't focus too much on just taking away KJ Duff. Antoine Raymond went over 1,200 rushing yards last year. I think they built a little bit more depth at running back as well this year, but Raymond is a superstar.
Yards after contact, he's outstanding in that area, and his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. And again, I go back to this all the time. You'll hear me say it, playing without the ball in your hand. He's one of those guys that's going to do everything it takes to win. And you think about having that type of combination at the wide receiver and the running back position really elevates the level of play of everyone on the field. And we saw that when we watched him practice.
Yeah, he's got change of direction. He's extremely slippery. His contact balance, we don't see it at practice, it's not live, but we know his contact balance is elite from watching him last year. I think what makes me so excited is the play caller in Shiraka, where he always has a layered offense, where at any point pre-snap, it could be a handoff to Raymond, or it could be a pass to Duff, or if you want to take them both away, I'm happy about their wide receiver depth or their running back depth. So they have a ton of options, and I think they have the right play caller to really stress opposing defenses.
Well, that play caller is going to have a new quarterback. He did an amazing job with Ethan Kaliak-Manis, was outstanding now in the NFL, so it speaks to the job that they did here. You've got a two-man battle. Dylan Lonergan, who began his career at Alabama, interestingly enough, went to Boston College, was their starter for the majority of the season last year. And then A.J. Surace, who's been here for a few years. They've really spoken highly of him in the previous seasons as one of the backups to Kaliak-Manis, that, hey, he had a chance to be the future of the program. And those two are neck and neck. Yeah. Did you guys have any sense of how to distinguish them from one another?
Not at all.
Separated?
Not at all. And I think to the point of really this coaching staff is the reason they haven't made a decision, because not one of them has jumped out. And that's not always a bad thing. It's just that tough of a contest for them to decide who the ultimate starting quarterback is going to be. But that's a decision that they're going to have to be able to make, and make it soon. But some of the things that go into that, how does a team respond when they're down? How does it respond? And that, to me, is going to be the guy that ultimately wins it. You also have to be able to take care of the football.
And the old saying is if you have two, you have none. I didn't get that sense at all. I think they're comfortable with either guy, but I think statistically there's not going to be much separating them. They seem to trust him both as leaders. You listen to KJ Duff talk, he trusts both of them as well. The players on offense trust both of them. I'm curious with what the evaluating metric will be for Shiraka and Shiano of who they're going to go with, because once they make that decision, you got to ride with that guy. You got to ride with that guy, and you give him the keys to the offense, and he's going to have to seize that as well.
Seemed to have gotten better up front, too. Offensive line was kind of up and down. Last year they brought in Jim Turner. They've got nice size up front. So offensively, look, the last 2 years have been their two highest scoring teams in nearly 20 years. Yeah. Again, I understand they don't have the quarterback that they had the last 2 years, but man, they've got some other really good pieces, and maybe one of these two will grow into a quarterback along the lines of Ethan Kaliak-Manis. But offense seems to be pretty well set. Defense was a real issue last year. I mean, they just got absolutely gashed. Yards per play, they were the worst in the country. It just was not a good defense. And that's odd because Greg Schiano has made a name for himself as a really great defensive mind. He made a change. He went and hired Travis Johansson, who's an interesting hire. Travis Johansson, FCS head coach for 1 year at South Dakota. He led them to the FCS quarterfinals last year in that 1 year. Prior to that, he had been the defensive coordinator. Anyone who follows in this area of the country, we know Coyotes are a good program.
Yes.
We see them play Big Ten teams all the time. So what does Johansson bring, and how quickly can he elevate this defense?
Well, he brings his ability to coordinate top 10 defenses, regardless of level. He's been able to put defenses together, which tells me he has a scheme that'll be able to fix the issues that they may have had. And he's in a situation now where he gets to make all those calls on the defensive side of the football, and that's an important part. I think that's one of the reasons he came here. But he's got his hands full. He understands what the challenge is going to be, and there's really no place but up for this defense. But I like what they have. I mean, you talk about depth. There's depth everywhere on this team, but particularly in the offense and defensive line. There are a lot of players there, so they'll be able to run a lot of guys through.
And he brings with them a winning standard and a winning expectation because that's what he's practiced over the years. I felt last year the Rutgers defense was completely out of position at times. The defensive line didn't work with the linebackers, didn't work with the secondary, and that's how you get gashed. I felt that it was 11 guys working at least as one unit for the most part today. It was much better competition between offense and defense this camp tour from last camp tour. But the big area for me last year is the defensive line created no push. There was no disruption, no negative plays. Some of that was starting to show up in practice, and I give a ton of credit to the NIL program and decision makers here, not only keeping guys like Duff and Raymond, but bringing in some key pieces on the defensive side of the ball to start to bring in a quality player that can compete at a Big Ten level.
And figuring out you had to cast a wide net. I mean, they have a lot of players who are coming from that FCS level who were really productive players who they have plugged in, and we saw play very well today. So you can go to the FCS level for a coach, you can go to the FCS level for players too, and they were able to do that. Not exclusively, but there are some guys that you saw here today that clearly could make a difference for Rutgers this year. The beauty of it is we're not going to have to wait very long to see how much they've improved, because the very first game of the year on the Big Ten Network is Rutgers against UMass. We will see them on that first Thursday night before Labor Day weekend. Mike?